You are listening to BitsCast KE, conversations that matter to young people, bit by bit.
Mazungumzo ya kweli na jamii, uwezo kwa vijana, mabadiliko. Mazungumzo ya kweli na jamii, uwezo kwa vijana, mabadiliko.
Welcome back to our part 2 of episode 5. With Derrick Were here, we're talking about how do young people take care of their mental health. And basically, just to put, things into context of, youth and young people is just even check the type of pictures people post. So they will take like probably 100, maybe 30 pictures, and they will choose the best picture to post. This is because social media has sold us that we have to put the excellence, basically wins, no losses, no anything. It's always about, just winning and winning and winning. And when you share that and there's someone who consider themselves as, I don't want to say a loser, but they are not winning, they will be questioning everything from their end. And that is a very good point there. So in terms of the work that you've mentioned, you're in a particular work environment for 3 months, for 6 months, and you wanted to progress, maybe become, the CEO within the next 2 years. So work also affects our mental health in regards to how we deal with, let's say, pressure, how we meet deadlines. Do we execute and everything and anything that we're given to execute by, the people that we work with? So how do we ensure that we maximize on quality work and minimize on pressure and stay on top of our mental health when we are, in any particular workspace?
Thank you so much. The conversation about workspace and mental health can never be exhausted, especially at this era where profit has become above. It is profit first, then people. And that is an issue that we cannot overemphasize. Now, the question is, first of all, we need to be able to work in spaces where there are clear deadlines, there are clear deliverables, and there are clear tasks, compared to places where they don't set clear goals and clear deliverables. Most of the time you find, personally for me, I don't work best under pressure. I can, if you give me work and you give me a deadline of 1 week, I'll do a perfect job for you and I'll submit. There are people who can still work under pressure. You can give them a deadline of today, and it's a work that needs a whole week, and they will still work with the pressure and submit work. The trouble now is when, first of all, you don't understand yourself. Number 2, when you're working in an environment where they don't encourage people to be free and to express themselves about how they feel about what they're working on. You can be working and achieving something great, but you don't enjoy what you're doing and you're struggling, and honestly, it is killing you day by day. So it has to be a place where there is that conducive environment that allows people to express themselves, though it is very limited, especially in the modern life where profit is more bigger than people. And then you also have to be expressive enough. I know sometimes it can cost somebody their job when you say, by the way, I cannot work, but this time I need to go home. And the issue of, if you're working, if your job is, you're working between 8 to 5, let it be 8 to 5. When you go home, let your bosses know when you're going home, you're going home. In fact, you can leave your phone at work. Actually, your work line should be at work. When they call you, the phone is at, you left your phone at the office. When you go home, you go home. You want to be present, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, and yourself. This idea of you working, answering emails late in the night and all this and workaholism are things that, of course, bring about mental breakdown. And of course, at workplace, when they see people, sometimes when people are saying, can I work from home? Can I work from home? It's a sign that people are not enjoying coming to the office. There's a trouble somewhere somebody's struggling with when people now enjoy working from home more than enjoy working from the office space.
So now we have to question if someone is saying, I want to work from home. Maybe it's their preference.
It might be a preference, but sometimes somebody who used to come to the office, it is good to always find out, how comes this person wants to work from home? What is the issue? So it has to be, employers have to encourage spaces where people can express themselves and share what they think about 1, 2, 3 things. For me, I have stepped down from places where I used to work, where my mind at that particular point did not agree with the vision of that organization, because I felt like I was going to use a lot of energy and all that. The other trouble with now being free at workplace is financial freedom. If you don't have financial freedom, the possibility of you being mentally sane is almost impossible, because if you're living from paycheck to paycheck, the possibility of you being fine and even saying this work I cannot do is not there, because if you say you're not going to work, how are you going to pay your bills and you're living from paycheck to paycheck? So the first step at workplace for you to start ensuring that your mental health is stable is to live below your paycheck, to ensure that after maybe 1 year or 2 years, you have some money in the account that can sustain you for the next 3-4 months in the event you lose your job. So that you have the liberty to tell your boss, this one I cannot do. I would love to, but I cannot do it.
Yeah, I was watching a podcast on designing your rich life. And I think basically rich life means different things for different people, or in accordance to, the podcast. The one that you referred me to, the diary of a CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this person was saying that for you to be able, you need to understand, how much money is coming to your account. You need to understand, your static expenses. We talk about rent, we talk about, maybe groceries and all that. You understand your transport is this amount of money. And try and see, are you making anything? Treat yourself as a company. Are you making any profit after you get all the money? And, is there something left for you to save and even invest? And if you do not have any of this thing, I think it's time for you to just pause and figure out how you're cutting on your expenses. Because sometimes we tend to, want a lot of things. Maybe you want 100-inch, TV screen, and you never even at home over the weekend to watch the TV and all that. So we need to prioritize and ensure that always we spend below our means so we can be able to have something and save for rainier days. As we wind up this conversation, there's something that I really wanted us to tackle. Relationships play a key role in growth, in happiness, and a lot of things, and also sadness. From many conversations that we've picked with young people. So relationship, both from, the family perspective, and both from, our spouse, our fiancés, our boyfriend, our girlfriend. How do we ensure that we stay sane, even if, when we are still having these, relationships?
Of course, we cannot leave this conversation without speaking about relationship. First of all, our first relationship is with our family. I mean, we are all born in a family, whether we lost our parents or not. At least we are somewhere where we can call this a family. So the first place where we learn about relationships and living with people and understanding the dynamics of people and how they interact with people is from our families. How now do we sustain saneness, especially for young people who are in different relationships? For me, because I love to speak about myself because the struggles and how I've been able to overcome. I struggled a lot in my early 20s with the relationships. That means dating and even friendships, because I didn't understand there were so many things I needed to have resolved to be able to attract the right people in my life. So when you are struggling with the relationship, number one, it means there are things you never solved within yourself that enable you to be able to be aware. Number two, when you are in relationships, be honest and be genuine with the people you are developing relationship with. For example, be honest about financial boundaries. Tell your friends, me by the in as much as you guys are contributing this amount of money, even if I earn more than all of you, I can only give you 500 shillings. Create these boundaries, the PDAs. You tell people, me, I am not comfortable hugging people in public. I just don't enjoy this particular thing. Let them understand your boundaries, that when you say no, you mean no. When you say you cannot do this, you cannot do this. When you bring these kind of conversations with the friends you have, now the people you may be starting relationship with or even family, they are already aware that, I cannot do this. I was talking about phone. If they know you cannot pick your phone during the day, they understand from the early stage that by the way you call me earlier, mostly I don't pick my phone when I'm at workplace. You can mostly call me at this particular time. So one of the things is set clear boundaries. Try to understand why. If you're having difficulty creating boundaries, try to understand, is this something coming from home that I used to love pleasing people? I used to be like, quote unquote, the bigger person in my family. And so I didn't care, because there are people who look like the bigger persons in their families and in their friendships. They end up being hurt. People will always use them. People will always call them whenever they have emergency. But when you have emergency yourself, you cannot call any one of them, because they will not come through for you. So you need to have clear boundaries. Let them know these are the boundaries, and let them know also your needs. Don't be the one who always wants to hear people's issues. I'm in the counseling world, but I don't have just friends who just want to come and pour their issues. No, I have friends who sit down and listen. If they have to advise, they advise. If just to listen and they go, that is it. So you have to be very clear.
So you've mentioned that you need to be really sane of, your boundaries. And you've talked a lot about that. So other people might, feel that if I push people away and tell them this is my boundary and you're not supposed to cross this, it might come off like you're selfish. So how do we establish, a good self-identity. You have understood yourself to a point where you're not feeling that when you're telling someone, please call me from this time to this time, my phone will be on D&D from this time, they completely understand.
Let me answer that question. Number one, it is not bad to be selfish. In fact, being selfish is being selfless. For example, if I tell you, I cannot use this amount of money, I look selfish, but I'm honest to you. As opposed to somebody will give you that money, but they're going to tell everybody in the whole world how they helped you, how without you, you're not going to survive. So first of all, you have to be selfish. You have to first of all love yourself before you say you can love other people. That is one thing you cannot run away from. Number two, the comment of without hurting people. Sometimes we struggle from pleasing people and not being honest. There is no problem with hurting a person. There is no, in fact, when you feel pain, if I say something and you feel pain, it is not bad to feel pain. I mean, these are things that were created for us to feel. If you feel happy, it is good. If you feel sad, it is good. The question is, why am I feeling sad? If somebody said they don't want me, like the way people struggle with rejection, somebody says they cannot have you. If you feel the pain, understand, is it that the thing they told me is what I'm battling with, or I am not used to being told no? So it is a you issue. It's not the issue of the person who told you. The person who told you was honest with you. So we struggle with being honest because we want to look pleasing. We want to make them feel, no, be honest with yourself. There's some honesty you can postpone telling somebody. For example, if somebody did something, you just tell them we'll talk about this issue later, because you have assessed the situation and their mood, and you can tell they cannot be able to process this information because of their situation. But I've learned the best gift you can give yourself is just being honest. Don't look at the issue from the aspect of how will they feel, what is happening in their mind, how will they start to see me from today moving forward. It is not your duty, it's not your responsibility. You are born to think about yourself, and if you can, people will come to you because of who you are, not what you're trying to please to them. Otherwise, when you please people, they will always use you and dump you.
Yeah, we've talked about a lot in regards to, mental health, challenges, solutions, and we've talked about, the digital aspect. Now, as we wind up this conversation, basically, where can young people get help? And if you can even specify, this type of mental issue, you can get help here. This mental issue, you can get help here.
I'll start with this. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. If you honestly feel like, for example, you need a job, you'll always get, regardless of course, you're not choosing. Now, the issue of mental health may like to break it down to the level of the first step of having a mental health issue is allowing yourself to be with people, to start step by step to interact with people. There are so many issues people bring to counselors that could have been solved by us being free to express ourselves and free to be able to interact with human beings on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. That is the first step. Number two is understand yourself. Do research about who you are. You can even do there are so many personality tests somebody can always do to understand, who am I? Am I introverted? Do I like this? Do I struggle with this? All these personality tests, there are so many. When you feel like this issue is a bit of a burden, when you even go online, basic mental health organizations or counselors within your place, you'll always get it. I know some on different occasions, like in national hospitals, they offer free counseling services. There are religious centers, churches where they offer free counseling services. You're not charged to attend those things. So may I feel like when we are ready,
we'll always find a way.
We'll always find a way. The accessibility is so much. I only advise, of course, online alone, because I will advise always a one-on-one conversation with somebody who can see, you can feel, you can let you express your emotion to the fullest. So there are organizations, there are companies, there are hospitals who on different occasions offer free services, counseling services we can always get. So it's about what are we looking for online and among our friends. You can always get.
Yeah, last but not least, your parting shot as we wind up this conversation. Of course, I've said that a couple of times. So speak to young people, their parents, relatives, and even friends on mental health and why it should be prioritized basically in the African context.
To anyone who is listening, be it a young person, be it an old person, or whichever age, mental health is very crucial. I mean, mental health affects every other thing about your life. Mental health affects how you relate with your family. It affects how you work with your colleagues. It affects how you even enjoy life and the things you have achieved. Otherwise, if your mental health is not stable, you'll be getting more money, but you are sad. So to the people listening, first of all, think about yourself. if you don't care about your mental health, absolutely nobody will care about it. If, for example, you tell me, for example, your friend is depressed and your friend is not ready to speak about it, I will not be of help in any way. Pregnant women go to the hospital, and if they were scared of the doctors and whoever is in that ward seeing their nakedness, they are at risk of losing their lives and the lives of the people they're carrying in their womb. So the first thing and the best step for you to always learn is learn to express yourself. Tell people, by the way, this week, by the way, I feel like I'm stressed. When I started to do that, people used to laugh about it and like, no, you're Derrick, you cannot be stressed. You're always jovial about life and all this. But I learned to be open. Let people see your nakedness. Sometimes they'll talk about it, but that's okay. But the beauty of all, after they talk about it and after you've talked about it, you'll be going home happy, with less weight, with a possibility there's a solution. Number 2, when you see somebody who is breaking down and they're struggling, learn to always allow people to express themselves. Sometimes they express themselves via status. Sometimes you see them withdrawing from activities they used to enjoy. Try to also push and talk to them. Don't be always judgmental about people when they start doing things poorly. Even at workplace, try to find out. Sometimes you can see somebody who used to love working, but because we are in a mood of competition in work and every other thing, you start talking ill about them. But learn to say, how can I help? Are you okay? So learn to be there to help somebody and learn to be there to understand who you are and let people know that this is normal for you to feel down, and it is normal in life to be up. It's normal for life to be down. It's normal for life to feel the way you feel. Every feeling is normal. Sadness is normal. Happiness is normal. Angry is normal. The only thing is, what do you do after you're feeling sad? Do you feel sad about being sad, or do you speak about it and find solutions to it?
Yeah, thank you so much for this conversation. So from your end, as you finish up this conversation, where can people find you in case like they want to, maybe send you a DM, basically just have a conversation around, mental health. Maybe even they want to invite you to speak on matters of the same.
You can find me, should I say, on Twitter at D_Were. You can also find me on my podcast is Mental Wealth Podcast, where my contact is there as well. I can share my contact is 0717 197826. I'm always free to come and speak, be it to young people and any other person, or one-on-one conversation about this. You can find me on Facebook, Derrick Were. You can find me on Instagram, Derrick Were. I'm always free to talk about this matter whenever I'm invited.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Derrick Were, for coming and also speaking to, young people about, their mental health and how they can take care of that. And we have learned a lot from this conversation. And just to highlight a few, from you understanding yourself better, take those, a test online on your personality, get to understand yourself, set boundaries so people can understand how you function and how well you can be able to function on a particular time. Also consume whatever you're getting from social media, but of course with limit. Of course, you've mentioned about that. And also speak to people. We are social beings. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I'm your host, Alex Oburu, and it was a pleasure to have you. Until next time, BitsCast KE, conversations that matter to young people. Get this podcast on all your podcasting platform. Bye.
Mazungumzo ya kweli na jamii, uwezo kwa vijana, mabadiliko, mazungumzo ya kweli.